The preliminary examination has to be approached from two angles. One from the perspective of preparing only for the prelims, one for the day of the examination, and the second approach is to treat the examination as building the base for all examinations related to civil services and also as a prelude to the mains examination. The examination is essentially a consolidated effort that the candidates have to follow by amalgamation of whatever that they have learnt in their schools, post-school studies, and that too through the eyes of a mature student. The preparation of the preliminary examination has to be followed in many stages. Following the theme and philosophy of holding the preliminary examination and the explanation of UPSC, certain strategies and policies can be devised. There are three stages that the candidates must pass through, while pursuing some parallel efforts throughout. The first is revisiting their school books. The candidates must study the same school books that they have studied in their school. That may include books prescribed by their own respective education board, by a local publisher, or who are highly blended authors, or books that have been running in fashion and in vogue in their schools, or any other type of book that the school may have prescribed and recommended to their candidates. The idea is to go and study only those books that the candidates have studied. This will help the candidates recall everything that they have studied during their school days, as school learning has the highest capacity of being recalled by a candidate. The focus areas has to be on history, geography, economics, ecology and environment, science and politics. Textbooks on English, Hindi, Sanskrit, physical education, psychology, computer sciences, mathematics, etc. need not be referred at this stage. Also, the coverage has to be from 6th to 12th standard only. Specialized subjects, for example, commerce, accountancy, physics, chemistry, etc. of 11th and 12th standard aren't required to be covered by a civil services aspirant. In case the local board school books are not available, the NCERT books from 6 to 12 can be studied. Essentially, they are the one which the candidates go on to study, but they will go on to be helpful mostly if the candidates have studied the same books in their school. In the initial phases, 2 cycles of readings are required. In the first cycle, only a cursory overview without considering the syllabus and content should be attended. In the second cycle, a more focused approach is required. The candidate should have learnt the syllabus and previous year questions by heart, or at least have a ready reference by now. In the second reading, therefore, the candidates need to read the contents from the book with the syllabus and pattern of the UPSC in the back of his mind. After having gone through the school books, one must frame some objective type questions and get it verified through his peer group. The closer the questions that have been framed by the candidates are to the UPSC pattern, the better is the outcome of the candidate of his initial reading. This stage will get the candidates attuned to the expectations of UPSC. The second is observe and classify the mains syllabus. The students must observe the mains syllabus comprehensively and thereafter separate out the topics meant for mains examination and find some topics that will be common to preliminary examination as well. For example, modern history, Indian culture, Indian world geography, Indian economy, constitution, polity, etc. These components have to be prepared in a comprehensive and integrated manner with both prelims and mains in mind. The third relates to having disciplined the preparation of the candidate. The students must pick up their studies section by section and then topic by topic, chapter by chapter, and study different sections which itself will comprise of many sub-stages. The first is begin by reading and comprehension of the topic, meaning that the topic is very well understood even though it may not be at the level of the analysis that the mains examination requires. Then, take efforts to increase retention of the topic. This may be through peer group discussion, revisiting some video classes, memorization, or whatever suits the candidate to help him retain the essence and facts of the topic. This is to be followed by preparing synopsis and summary oneself, and that too comprehensively. This type of effort will help the candidate to organize himself and restructure his thinking in a better manner. Having understood the topic, question solving will form an essential ingredient of the preparation. This will involve solving previous year questions from both mains and prelims. If a candidate is not able to solve them satisfactorily, there is no need to press the panic button now, as perhaps the most important aspect of the preparation is still left, and that is revision. After the completion of each section, one must go through revision first completely oneself and then through some peer group discussion, and by regularly revisiting summaries prepared by yourself. Keep on testing yourself through some practice questions. Now, pick up another section and follow all the aforesaid steps. Along with the preparation of the preliminary examination, the students must make a parallel efforts along with and throughout. There are 3 parallel efforts the candidate must keep on doing in order to keep abreast of everything related to contemporary preparation. One is mastering newspaper, reading to extract questions out of any news. This is a trick that every candidate must know. There is a difference between a news and an issue. Questions nowadays are mostly issue-based, which tests the candidate's ability to apply it to their surroundings. Another type of question is observation-based. It is really important to discard the unnecessary information and internalize the important ones. For example, suppose there is a news item which talks about the visit of a political leader to a drought-affected area. Now, here the details of the political leader, his political affiliations, his ideology, his behavior, etc. would occupy the maximum space in the newspaper. However, none of these informations are relevant for CSE. In this news, what becomes important is the location of the place. For example, whether the location is with respect to Tropic of Cancer, whether it is being near to the Himalayas, and whatever. The reason of that area being drought affected, if it is drought affected, for example, whether it lies in a rain shadow area or whether it goes on to be suffering from any degree of continentality, etc. What are the water harvesting techniques in the affected areas that have been followed by the government, and what, if any, government initiatives at all which happen to be in this region to tackle the issue, and so on. This is the picture one must establish regarding the segregation of relevant information from the not so relevant ones. The second stage is the candidate must study a feature every day from the newspapers. Note them down, note down their points, and present it in its own words. The candidate should also frame subjective questions by identifying the core issues in the news item. This effort will keep improving their language, so essential for the mains preparation as well as to improve comprehension of the topic. While the systematic preparation goes on, the candidate must take 2 to 3 hours of their time to learn from any mode that they can find and which must feel very interesting to the candidates, such as watching YouTube videos on any topic covering the preliminary examination, such as the topics can be supernova explosion, African game reserve or African game safari, Basoli painting, the dynamics of working of a jet propulsion engine, etc. And they must go on to watch news on a decent news channels where the panel members neither shout nor fight and they talk among themselves in a very sincere manner. The student must also talk to sincere friends and on films, literature, government policy, ethics, beauty, anything. This effort will not only refreshen the candidate but also break the monotony of the preparation. Mostly, candidates ignore this aspect, but it holds immense significance. A bored, depressed, unhappy, and demotivated candidate can never qualify the civil services examination. Conversation is an intrinsic part of the preparation, and conversation, if it is done in a proper language, improves communication immensely. The time frame of preparation is an essential ingredient for the preparation of the examination. Every beginner has this issue of adhering to the dignity of time, or one doesn't know how much time is needed to prepare for the prelims examination. The issues that confront a beginner is, should one prepare prelims examination exclusively or should one need to prepare for the mains examination side by side? Second issue is, do the students require to prepare everything simultaneously or one by one or step by step? Third is, what one ought to do with respect to answer writing of the mains as well as reading newspapers and the current affairs. Fourth is, do optionals require an equal attention or should they be relegated into a secondary form of preparation? One needs to remember that one should always prepare in an integrated manner, because if one neglects any part of the topic or marginalize any section, then this requires to be compensated. However, the preparation may take a greater amount of time because of the time lag, and which may double the effort. Every planning has to be strategized and customized as per every individual requirement, and accordingly, a separate strategy is required in this regard. Prelims examination is meant for covering the syllabus to its maximum. The revision of the covered syllabus and form a basis for the mains examination. Preliminary examination allows capacity building within the candidates for studies, learning techniques, stamina building, methods and tools for study, and thus gaining experience for preparing something so unknown, so extensive, and sometimes so exotic as the mains examination. Prelims preparation must begin at least 10 months from the prelims date. As has been discussed even before, the initial preparation must focus on such mains topics which are equally significant for the prelims topic, or which comprise the prelims topic within its ambit. There will be some topics that will be very important for the mains, and they have to be prepared conjunctively in such a manner that both PT and mains are equally covered and equally prepared. Such mains and prelims integrated topics include some chapters like the entire of modern Indian history, Indian painting, Indian sculpture, etc., in culture and heritage, volcanism, earthquakes, tropical cyclones, etc. in geography, president, judiciary and the likes in Indian polity, inflation, national income, etc. in Indian economy, space science, nuclear energy, etc. in science and technology section, and so on. While some purely prelims-like topics will go on to comprise composition of atmosphere, resource distribution in geography, topics in medieval India, physiology in medicine, etc. And some topics which are purely mains type topics, they will go on to comprise topics related to internal security, Indian foreign policy, ethics and integrity, external security, governance and urban issues, etc. Having achieved some comfort level, one must start writing one topic every day, which may not be necessarily in an answer form or an essay form, but the writing must go on. It is important to maintain continuity of variations of preparation with focus on the prelims or mains topic, separated and demarcated clearly. Reading newspaper for current affairs is a part of prelims as well as mains, so one must do it on a continuous basis. Making notes and synopsis must proceed on a parallel basis. Thus, by the time the prelims examination approaches, one has developed a complete factual mastery, developed adequate skills to read in less time, as well as having known what is to be read and what is to be avoided. It is important that 75 days prior to the prelims, the focus must be turned completely to the prelims examination with proper time provision for the removal of topics and its revision. It is advisable to manage newspaper reading, but if someone feels constricted, then that can be avoided. At a micro level, the students must prepare a schedule, a timetable for every day, and must try to follow it as much. The basic technique of preparing timetable is to actually prepare a table. Have a look at the differentiation of the topics and its segments. How is it that they can go on to divide their time in different segments of time framework? Accordingly, a hypothetical table can be devised for the candidates for an entire month of a time, which can be gauged from the table that goes on to follow. From the table, the students can go on to gauge that it has been divided into several weeks, week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on. And then several segments have been picked up. For example, history, for example, essay, for example, YouTube videos, for example, collection of facts, and then the topics that are to be studied at a preliminary examination level. Now, the students can go on to assign timing to all of them. For example, they can go to study history from 8 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Essay can be thereafter. YouTube videos can be thereafter. Or it can be in any form of a combination. But a schedule is must, a routine is must. Without a schedule and a routine, it will become very, very difficult for the student to keep track of whatever that they are studying and in whichever way that they happen to be studying. Having said that, it is equally significant that the students must go on to pick up some important reading materials. And there will be a list that goes on to follow with respect to the most important reading materials in different subjects. For example, in geography, the most preferred source will be any school book that the candidates have studied. That's most desirable. If that is not available, then NCERT books, and from class 6 to class 7 to class 8, and the different chapters that the candidate can actually go on to study, that has been shown on your screen. It is easy as well as difficult to pick up some important reading material. Easy because the basics are very strong. Easy because whatever that have been studied in school, if the candidate is proficient in that, they will never going to have a problem in that count. Difficult because the students will go on to lend their ears to a variety of people and they will go on to suggest a variety of things to them. All in all, the most compacted compilation that can be used for the purpose of different subjects like geography, economics, Indian polity, history has been given to you on your screen. If you're going to take a look at your screen, you will go on to find the list that has been given to you is completely comprehensive, chapter-wise and page-wise as well. At the same time, some websites, essential websites have been given. There will be a lot of new websites that will go to come into play in due course of a time. And some of these websites will start showing you a lot of things by way of multimedia, use of immersive technology, use of augmented reality, and use of virtual reality as well. Now, having said that, it's pertinent to know how is it that one can go on to pick up important points from any reading material, be it books, be it a newspaper item, be it a magazine, or be it anything. It is important to note that as the students prepare, they will need to consult past papers and standard question banks. Questions asked 1 or 2 years back do give an idea to the students as to the type of questions that are asked. This practice also helps the aspirants to get them tuned to their requirements as well as raise the awareness level of themselves. Having known as to the type of questions asked, the candidates approach a genuine question bank. Practice makes perfect, and lots of practice makes it even better. Whatever questions practiced, discussing it with the peer group shall provide adequate revision and some useful insights from time to time. This should make the students come to a better position. The key to qualifying in the prelims examination hinges on the ability of the candidates to decipher questions and the nature of the questions that can possibly be asked from a given news item. This ability means a trick, a technique as well as an attitude. Given here are some news items and an attempt to train the students as to how can they frame an answer based on this news. What the UPSC expects from the candidates on this news item in terms of their attitudinal ability and their information level and the ability of these people to process the information. Some captions have been picked up from a down-to-earth issue of 1st to 15 June. And some questions have been framed on those captions. There are two of them that will begin with web-based waste management system that have been launched in India and American bisons that have been declared as US national mammal. If anyone follows the news item on the web-based management system, then they'll be able to appreciate the question that has been extracted. The question is, consider the following statements on waste management in India. 1. The Government of India under Swachhata Abhiyan launched a portal for web-based waste management program. 2. The Ministry of Environment and Forest launched a web-based application that's called as Integrated Waste Management System. The 3rd, the application is to empower the citizens to clean their locality. The 4th, the application facilitates permissions for import and export of certain categories of waste used for recycling. Obviously, since the question has been made, there will be some attempts to complicate the question, and this has also been done here as well. In this case, the correct answer goes on to be 2nd and 4th. That means it is a Ministry of Environment and Forest initiative which launched a web-based management application system for the purpose of facilitating the import and export of certain categories of waste. Another of this waste has been those type of waste that are very, very small, very minute, to an extent of being in microns. A question that can be possibly framed on that can be, the stone crushers are likely to contract which type of disease? One of them is pneumono-ultra-microscopic silicovolcanosis. Second is silicosis, foot infection and bronchial asthma. Now because it was the West and particularly microscopic West that have been used, that's why this question is likely to be asked. And it follows with the world's largest word, that is pneumono-ultra-microscopic silicovolcanosis. But ultimately the answer is silicosis. On American bison, the question is going to be comprising of some components of the elements of American bisons as well as some components of elements of certain things that have been used. For example, one of these statements is American bisons have been hunted to extinction only for their tongue during an early American exploration. Note, this is a topic that has not been in the news item. But because a topic on American bisons is going to be asked, consequently it becomes imperative for anyone to know for what purpose the American bisons have been hunted for. And it's a fact that the Americans bisons have been hunted only for their tongue. And imagine 1,000 kilogram of a beast hunted to extinction only because of their tongue, which was so tasty. Second has been the American bison has been designated as the official mammal of United States. That's correct. The Americans made a conservation plan for bisons after 1890. That's correct. And the bisons are now under IUCN latest red list. That's also correct. So in this case, the correct answer will be comprising all of them, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Another of this news item goes on to be on wetlands. Now, wetlands have been in news largely because of two factors. One has been because of the floods that took place in Srinagar. Another has been because of the floods that took place in Chennai. So the question read like, consider the following statements regarding wetlands. Wetlands act as nature's kidney. Now, this fact is missing in the above caption. But then anyone who develops an interest in wetlands, comes to read about wetlands, must go on to know that wetlands incidentally and do go on to act like a nature's kidney, cleaning almost everything. Second option is Dipor wetland in Kamrup district, Assam has been used for being affected by dumping of solid waste by Assam. That's correct. That is taken from the above statement. The shrinkage of the Pallika Marnai wetland in Chennai was responsible for Chennai floods. It was one of those factors that was indeed responsible for Chennai floods. That's correct. The NGT imposed for the first time a buffer zone of 75 meters for lakes and wetlands in Bengaluru. That was for the purpose of conserving it. So in this case, D is correct. In a similar manner, any type of a news item can be converted into a question. It all depends on the type of a technique or the trick that a person has learnt, whether they know how to convert these things into a question, and ultimately the candidate have to decipher an idea that they can go on to convert any news item into a question. The day the candidates are able to convert any news item into a question, or in other words, if they see a news item and they can go on to know that this is a type of a question that can be asked possibly from the news item, then the job is done. These are essential ingredients that a candidate must know anytime in order to prepare for the preliminary examination.